Hey folks, we're back at Scan HQ for the results of the Thermaltake UK Modding Trophy 2018. In the meantime, the modders have all been hard at work making their creations to the theme of Thermaltake's 20th anniversary. So, we're going to be taking a look at the mods, having an interview with the modders themselves so they can guide us through what they've done. Later, we're also going to be taking part in some of the city building stuff, other related bits of fun, going to have some pizza, we're going to get to know everyone, a bit of Christmas cheer. So, let's go and take a look at the mods. So Richard, tell us a little bit about your mod. How have you worked with the theme itself and what have you done to the case and the components?
So obviously this is my mod, it's hashtag TT20. So I kind of put a computer together that I thought was going to sort of represent like sort of PC modding over the next couple of years and obviously represent Thermaltake's ecosystem of the Ring Plus TT. The case itself is quite a big case, so what I want to do is kind of show the full case off. So I went with the clear motherboard tray, so you can see straight down into the basement. I wanted to bring the graphics card from the top to the bottom, so it's more of a feature rather than it just sort of just sitting there, you know. I did a custom back to the case, which has got a custom sort of distro plating with the TT logo. You've got a screen which will show obviously all the Ring Plus operations, as well as a custom sort of 20 reservoir / distro plate in the middle here. I had a small CNC, and because I got in the competition, I wanted to invest in a bigger one, so I could obviously manufacture more parts as well as bigger parts. So I had to build the CNC first, get all that all level, and then it was the work on the case. So obviously all the parts are quite big for this case, so I started with the back. So I hit a lot of walls with the back bit, a lot of things that I broke, a lot of variations in the acrylic. All my testing I did small. So I knew it would work in theory, but when I went to the bigger parts of the acrylic, that's when I got hit into problems. A lot of it wasn't too much flex in the parts. So when I added the base and then I added the middle and the top, when you put everything together, there was just too much flex.
And obviously it's a very, very clean build, and you've tried to keep all the cabling to a minimum. How have you managed the actual cables themselves? I see you've got some custom-made cable cones in there. Yeah,
so I made some custom cable combs with the CNC. So I want to just kind of keep everything close to the motherboard, have it all sort of routed so everyone can see. So again, the length of the cable is all custom made, all cut down to size. And then all the main power cables, so mainly the Molex for all the controllers, are all going through a false floor. So there's another floor underneath that floor that's got all the main cables leading to the 3 controllers.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard. The rig looks absolutely fantastic, and best of luck.
It's brilliant. Cheers, thank you.
So Carl, could you guide us through your rig? What have you changed, what have you done, and how have you managed to fit it to the 20th anniversary theme?
Well, what I've done is, obviously I wanted to go for the bright colours to stand out, as you can see. Cut away the floor, made a custom powered fly shroud. I also wanted obviously to cut the front out of the case just so you can see the reservoirs.
So I see you've gone quite extensive with the cooling on the inside. You've modified the tubes as well. I saw that you've done some frosting on that.
I've never seen it done before where they've had, obviously I've seen all frosted all that, so I decided to go for a bit of the two. And I don't know if you can see, but there I've actually got Thermaltake frosted into there, and same as on the other side as well. So I've got it onto there, but I think it's frosted in the glossy tube, and it looks quite nice.
And this top goes up and down with a remote control.
Yes.
How did you implement the actual remote control for that?
What it is, it's a linear actuator, which I incorporated, and it's obviously on a switch. So that obviously cut the back of the case out, and obviously the hardest thing was trying to fabricate it up so you couldn't see it.
And then you said you can control the whole rig itself with a remote control as well, is that the case?
Yeah. I added another remote control, which is there, which obviously which is your on and off. So obviously I took away your front I/O. Obviously it's for cable wise because I wanted to go for the clean look. Didn't want any cables anywhere. So obviously added on there so I can turn it on or switch of a button.
And was it challenging getting all these tubing runs the way you wanted them, because they're quite loopy, so that's a lot of bends in there, isn't it? That's quite hard.
Yes and no. To believe it or not, that one there I did that in the first go. But a couple of others were a little bit tricky. But what I wanted we need to look through where it was all straight. But it was challenging, yeah. I didn't want to use any bends, I wanted to do it all hand. I think it turned out well.
Well, thank you very much for explaining the rig. We're going to be taking some shots a bit later, so we'll take a look through, and best of luck. So Michael, tell us a little bit about your builds. What have you modded? What have you changed? How have you managed to fit the theme of 20th anniversary for Thermaltake?
First of all, I started modding the simple front panels and the outside of the chassis to get it all matching from when I'd start working on the inside. I knew what I wanted to go with straight away, so to get the exterior done, it made sense to get that done with first. From there, I've had to carry the theme on inside, custom 20th century etched acrylic.
Obviously, you've tried to bring the movie studio glitz and glamour, and you've used lots of gold and things. Was that very challenging, having to try and find the new acrylic and the new paints and things to match?
Yeah, it was surprisingly difficult to find all the colours to match. You think gold is gold, but when it comes down to the gold you want, there's so many different ones, and not all of them match. So it was quite a challenge to find some what will match. And there's a few different tones in there now, but they do blend very well in my opinion, and this is exactly what I was looking for.
And for the 3D printed parts, you had those done externally, I noticed. Was that a difficult process to go through, given that you had to try and get it all done in time and work it through?
3D prints, you see, they are all custom built. There's not one what have been grabbed off a GrabCAD or whatever, they're all built from scratch. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort just to get what I wanted, It were my idea what I had to get across. So they've done it spot on. I cannot fault them, So I'm happy with what they've done for me.
And given this is your first water-cooled build, do you think you're going to be doing it again in the future if you can? Is it something that you've become interested in, do you think?
I have mentioned this many times. It is my first water-cooled build. And these C Pro fittings, and as I mentioned, first water-cooled build. So I've not got much experience to say, but the C Pro fittings, they really did help a lot. Measuring, cutting, first time cutting tubing, I've not even wasted that much. I've got over half a pack left, from, and I only had 2 packs of 4. So, to say I've only used 6 strips all in all for my first time bending, I think that's really good. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but...
nice and authentic. Well, Thank you very much, Michael.
No,
Rig
you're
looks
welcome.
Brilliant, and best of luck.
Thank you.
So, Jason, how did you interpret the brief with your mod? What have you gone and done, and what have you changed, maybe, in the case itself and the hardware?
Basically, on the front side of the PC, I went for a holographic look to match the RGB theme of Thermaltake. So I've holographic wrapped the front panels. I made a new base which I raised up and also got holographic wrapped. I changed it to, I was going to laser etch the top, but then I decided to change it, put mirrors on, which gives us all the reflection on the roof. I took away the Thermaltake reservoir and I made my own custom waterfall reservoir. Took me many, many goes to get it right, but in the end I got a decent outgoat. I had to put in 3 litres of coolant to make it work, which it actually works in the whole loop, goes out the whole system. I've boxed that off on the bottom, put a whole new motherboard tray in, boxed the bottom section off, put a nice panel in, and a mirror behind the infinity waterfall so it stands out. And the back panel, I went for the neon, again, infinity mirror look. Replaced the panel with acrylic, laser etched it again, put an RG strip down the side to give it the whole case the aura effect around it.
Obviously, a really striking point you've got here is the infinity mirror.
Yeah.
Was that a hard thing to do?
No, it was pretty simple, really. I basically took some electric trunking, took the piece that you pull off, double-side taped it to the rear mirror. Then obviously I glued in the RGB strips. Then I put a 2-way mirror on the top, and then lit it up, and the mirrors do the work for you, basically. It's pretty simple to do.
And was it complicated also making the actual reservoir itself? Did you have to glue the panels together, or is that held together with screws and sealants?
Never ever worked with acrylic in my life. It was my first attempt, and I was quite nervous doing the reservoir. If I got it wrong, it was going to be very expensive. But I took my time, read up on it, used obviously the liquid cement, glued very, very easy. I was quite surprised. It goes off straight away, it stays in place straight away. And I was quite surprised at the outcome. I filled it full of water, put it in pressure for a good 2 days, never leaked. Took me, I would probably say, about 30 or 40 times to get the waterfall effect, because it would either work one side or the other side, or it was in the middle, or it just wasn't a perfect flow. So back to the drawing board, got the flow I wanted, then I sealed the top off, and from there I get decent temperatures as well. It works pretty well.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Jason. And the rig looks absolutely fantastic.
Great, thank you very much.
So, Craig, tell us a little bit about your rig, how you've interpreted the design brief, and the sort of mods that you've done to it, and how you've maybe worked with the chassis and the components themselves.
So Thermaltake wanted something for their 20th anniversary. And I immediately thought of something older, something aged. You know, it kind of matches the fact that they've been around for 20 years, so go back 20 years, make something look old. The most time-consuming thing about the entire build was the aging. Absolutely everything is authentic rust. It's not fake paint, it's proper authentic rust.
So you've gone with a gears and wings type theme. I see you've got some moving gears in there. How have you managed that one out? How did you work that?
First of all, I knew I needed an electric motor for underneath the cogs so that they were turning, but the electric motor turns too fast if you just wire it straight to the 12-volt power. So I needed a little box and a speed controller. That was fun. I broke quite a few cogs to begin with. The mechanism just turned too quickly and just clipped them and snapped them. But now that they're fitted properly, they're turning nicely, nice and slow.
No, they look fantastic. And the aging process, you're saying it's all real. Now, obviously, there's lots of different metals and plastics and things involved in all this. How do you get the aged effect on all of the elements, like the tubes and the fittings and things, given they're all different? Like, how do you manage that?
I used a black paint that contains very fine particles of iron. Once that, I just kind of lathered it on with a paintbrush, and then once it had dried, I used a catalyst, which effectively rusts really quickly. So within 24 hours, you get the full rust effect.
And I see you've actually got some authentic steam in there as well. How do you do that?
Yeah, so I hunted for a steam machine or a smoke machine. Couldn't find one anywhere. Another modder actually popped up on Facebook and said, have you tried from an RC car? And I looked on eBay through RC parts and I found an old steamboat. I had to buy the boat and the steam machine, so I took the steam machine out, wired it up. It's actually 24 volt, which means it needs an external power supply, but it works.
And also you've got lighting throughout the case panels and things themselves. You've gone with a sort of antique look to it. What are your thoughts on the RGB elements and how you're using them in this case?
Well, RGB is great. Sometimes. Everyone's seen unicorn puke builds everywhere. But when used right, you can set one color at a time, match whatever your setup is, whatever your build is, and just go from there. It looks better when it's set right.
And you've done quite a bit of structural modding. I see you've completely removed the back panel. What changes did you have to make to the case structure to make it robust and stop it from flexing maybe?
So the first thing I had to do was, before cutting the back off, was weld a strut bar on either side. That was a pain. It was my first time ever welding, and I may have blew straight through one of the strut bars on the first go. But we got there. So once that was welded, I just cut straight off the back, trimmed down the back of the case here, and then added it's like leather around the back there, just to kind of add more flair to the steampunk look.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Craig, and best of luck. It looks fantastic.
Welcome everybody. Today's the final of the Thermaltake modding competition 2018. We had 5 modders join us just over 5 months ago. Each modder was given a range of parts from Thermaltake, our sponsors Asus, ADATA and AMD. Each modder was asked to put together a modified build using the level 20 XT case. And the theme was Thermaltake's 20th birthday. They've done fantastically well. They've done some really nice builds, fair play to them. They've put a lot of hard work in, but the public have spoken, and we have had our decisions as well.
Yep, so our panel of judges, we came together, we evaluated the mods based on the content, how well do they stick to the theme itself, the amount of modding work that was involved, the finish, and we've come to the conclusion, alongside the voting themselves.
The winner, the Thermaltake Modding Trophy 2018, Sam Ireland.
Well done, mate. Cracking build. And so first up, congratulations on placing first. How are you feeling?
Just absolutely ecstatic. I'm shaking, my stomach's churning. It's like, you know, never thought this day would come. It's my first ever major mod, and to come first place, it just shows that, you know, if you put your heart and mind to it, you can produce and you can do it. Hopefully, something comes of this, you know, for me in Taiwan.
Yeah, hopefully, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your rig on display over there. We're going to be documenting the whole thing, so yeah, congratulations once more. And
Brilliant, thank you very much.
enjoy your winnings.
I will. Thank you. Brilliant.
So that concludes the Thermaltake UK Modding Trophy 2018. It's been a fantastic year of modding, fantastic entrance. We loved how all the builds turned out, and it's been an absolute great day over here at Scan HQ. And of course, let's go enjoy Christmas now. So see you around, folks, and take care.